What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Panthers Nation Network. We're here, of course, at Locker Room Charlotte, where we've been the last few weeks, and we are chipper, all right? We are disheveled a little bit, but we're trying to stay above water after that preseason game.
Yeah, man, we try not to overreact to what happened. I mean, it was a rough outing for sure, but luckily it's only August. We got a lot more time until week one comes around, and I think we got a lot more trust in the coaching staff that this time they'll actually make some changes when we see things are going wrong. So that's all we can hope for right now.
Jason, how was it over the airwaves?
Listen, I mean, at first, it was a pause for the cause, but I think just Shantice's point is the first game. We got to let that, wash off our backs. But the offensive line didn't look good. Did not look good at all.
No, it really did not. I that would have been probably the most jarring thing. I mean, other than Reich's comments at the end of it, we'll talk about that later. But, as far as actual gameplay goes, I mean, I really didn't need to see anything more from Bryce Young. I would have rather not seen him get, drilled 3 or 4 times. I mean, they had 5 sacks in the game, and 2 of them were on Bryce Young. I would have rather not seen that. That would have been a good thing to not have to deal with. But he popped right back up, to his credit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. Out of all the rookie quarterbacks that played this weekend, Bryce looked the most comfortable. I mean, yeah, you only saw maybe 6 passes, 4 out of 6 he completed. Every drop back, he looked comfortable. He went through his progressions. On the one that he took the biggest hit on, it went through 1, 2, 3, found Adam Thielen. So I feel comfortable with him in the pocket, and so that's the main thing that I wanted to see. Would he still look like the same quarterback that we saw at Alabama? And he did look like a guy that was very comfortable. So that's great. Like you said, obviously the offensive line has to improve, but at least we know that. Well, at least we feel comfortable with the guy that we took number 1 overall.
Yeah, I mean, compared to the other guys, I definitely felt the best about him. I mean, there's the Texans beef that's going to sprinkle, and every time there's going to be these games, and I didn't see anything from C.J. Stroud that really wowed me at all. Same with the Titans, and Will Levis, that nothing there was like, oh God. I mean, even the only one I would say maybe was the Colts and Anthony Richardson, and not even his NFL readiness, just what we already knew he was going to bring to the table. He busted out a few kind of cam runs, we knew that was coming. So. Right. That didn't really change anything for me. For me, one of the bigger issues, and again, we talk about it, and it was something I'd mentioned last week, was the variety on the offense was lacking. I know, they're not trying to, give away the farm, but, I mean, show me a little bit of spice, a little bit of something, at least to I don't know, satiate you. But, of course, it's preseason. So, Jason, I want to know from your perspective, though. I mean, it's hard to not go full negative as a Panthers fan. So how did you go about not doing so?
I'm not gonna go full negative. I'm gonna piggyback off of what Shantice was mentioning, right? You want to talk about the poise of Bryce Young. I mean, you heard that from the lineman. The other thing too, I mean, I want to go back to your point too around the play calling. I'm kind of iffy on that whole comment. I mean, I know to your point, you don't want to give away the farm, but at the same time, can you show us something that didn't look like it did? Matt Corral looked like he wasn't prepared at all. He looked very, very wide-eyed, like he had no business being out there. I would have thought he would have come out a little bit stronger. Overall, I think what I did notice is the defense did come to play. It looks like we're going to be strong. I don't know if we're going to take – I'm not jumping up and down yet, but we do look better than we did last year, I would say, at this time preseason.
I'll let you go on that, Shantice, because, I mean, to me personally, I thought the defense looked a little more worse for wear.
I don't want to overreact to the defense too much because our 2 top pass rushers were not out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because we didn't have our first group running out there, I just wanted to see if some guys would step up. And I thought we did see one guy in particular, Amari Barno, step up to the plate. Especially after the depth chart came out, we saw him buried at the back of it. And I was really worried about him. I mean, but he popped up quickly. Kobe Jones being the other guy that's really been the camp darling thus far. Didn't really see a whole lot from him as far as splash plays, but it was good to see Barno show us that speed and athleticism off the edge, splitting the guy even for his 1 sack, splitting between the left tackle and the guard, but being able to power through for that sack, and even being involved in the run game, something that he wasn't really known for coming out of college. He was more of just a pass rush specialist. So for him being able to show up and flash that quickly bodes well for him as far as our depth, as far as at the edge rush position. Does that mean we have another guy on the roster that could possibly contribute? And that's the best thing I think we can hope for right about now.
Yeah, I mean, and this is without, again, showing what we were going to be getting from guys like Deion Jones or Justin Houston, because they're not playing in these preseason games to the point where we need to see them. Obviously, they need to fit into the system, but these are old veteran guys that don't need to show off in a preseason game. That's why we didn't see Andy Dalton step on the field, which we were happy about. I think that there were some other guys, that did pop off. I think there were some guys that definitely faltered. Stanley, Thomas, Olivier, you can get your bags ready. You can get bags ready right now. There was 2 of those routes he got burned on, and I was ready for that. But who did surprise me and was on the field real early was Jamie Robinson. I mean, he was out there a lot earlier than I thought he was going to be.
No, absolutely. He did have the one play. I
was trying to,
Oh no, we're not going to. We're not ducking that one. No, we're not ducking that because you can't quit on the play.
No,
get missing the tackle open space. It happens. Looking back, as if somebody else was supposed to play that play,
that is bad. You
crazy.
Can't.
It's not that serious. He'll recoup. It'll be fine. But I would tell you, bro, like, look, that's on your low light reel, my boy.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I was surprised he was even in that early, and then you can't back up a comment with saying there aren't 144 players better than me, and then look back in wonderment as to what is going on in the game. But no, to your point, Jason, the offensive line, that was really where, I mean, and some of it was on Corral. Like, there was the one damning play for Corral was where LaVisca was coming across the middle, just wide open, green pastures, no one around, and he's holding onto the ball for 45 seconds. And you're right to his point. Like, you would have thought he would have come out with a bit more fire, with a bit more, like, ready to show what he's doing. Maybe he's purposely showing that he's not good so that he doesn't get traded away. But, like, you would have thought he would have come out with a little bit more ready to go.
Well, here's the other question you have to ask yourself is how much is he really getting the reps that he needs to even feel comfortable and confident, right? So if he does have to come in and be the backup, I don't think to his credit, I don't see where he's putting in the work in that aspect, right? Really coming in, being much more of a leader in the huddle and on the field, being able to get the team ready to play. I didn't see that from him in the clips that I saw.
No, yeah, I didn't either. I mean, it's interesting because that's a contrast from what we've seen during training camp and during minicamp. He's been getting just as many reps as the rest of the quarterbacks, and he was still not showing that obviously team leader aspect, but like he was running with the 2s and 1s at time to the point where you thought at least he'd be able to command a little bit more of a game manager type of thing. And then we also just didn't see, like, remember last year? Before he got injured, when he was running around, his helmet got thrown off. Jason was about ready to give him the starting job right then and there. He was running around with his helmet off, and he was still going. And where was that this game?
I won't worry about that too much because we have to remember this guy only played in the preseason last year. He's essentially still a rookie, and we did know when we drafted him last year he still needed development. So that's exactly what everybody saw this past Saturday. Like you said, the route where Visca was open on a hitch. He missed it. He looked dead at him.
He looks right. You can't say he missed it. He looked right at him.
He looked right at him and missed it. Those are some things that those are the kinks that he has to work out. But this is the thing that we have to remember, that this is a guy that needed development. This is a guy that's taking some of his first NFL snaps. That was his first extensive action we've seen in the league. And even with the plays that he didn't make, there were some plays that he did make that I was impressed with. Again, the pass over the middle of the shot for a 20-yarder on a dig route. Things like that, getting the ball out to Derek Wright, getting the ball to Javon Williams when they could connect. There were some things there that I think you can build off on and work towards. But we did know in the preseason this would be the majority of where his work came. And all the practice means nothing once you got into the game. Once the bullets start really flying and you can get hit, then you know there's a big difference. I mean, now I think we see how Bryce looked in comparison to how Corral looked, and we say, wow, how is our rookie looking this much better than a second-year guy? But everybody doesn't come out at the same level. We felt that the guy we took was going to be more NFL ready than anybody else that was coming out this year. He looked like that. Matt Corral, he was a third-round pick for a reason, and we did know he needed development. So I think we just got to let that process play out with him. And again, there's 2 more games left to play. There will be a lot more action for him to improve. I mean, again, come this Friday, he may look like a totally different player.
Yeah, I think that you could see a bit more of a fire going up to New York, playing against the Giants. That's a different type of defense than he's going up against. I mean, we can't disregard the defense that we were going up against. There's a reason why it was a shutout. I mean, I think that speaks a little bit also to the fact that I think the score, if anything, speaks a little bit more to the inconsistency with the coaching staff, still needing that time to get together. I mean, Avero's still trying to implement this 3-4 defense with the rotating cast of characters. And then I think they're still trying to figure out between Reich and Thomas Brown and Deuce Staley and Caldwell how they're calling the offense and who is trying to, or not Caldwell, Capers, and how they're trying to go about calling this offense. And even with McCown as well, I think there could potentially be a problem of too many cooks in the kitchen, like we mentioned, way back when they were all hired, was that, is it going to be too many perspectives coming together to the point where like you just get bogged down and just throw out whatever you want to do. And I mean, like, it wasn't that I was expecting to see, like read options and double reverses and screen passes, but just like, I don't know, with Corral, like you've got nothing to lose. With Bryce Young, I expected it to be reserved. I expected it to be, all right, let's just make sure we can push the ball downfield. And, they couldn't, so that's going to be something that's I mean, they couldn't. That's the whole thing, is that they could not do that, and that's going to be something to be talked about later. But once you get to that second group, like, again, I think you want to show. That's why the preseason is such an enigma of like, what are you supposed to do in that regard? Are you supposed to just show that you can put out a reputable team, or are you supposed to like try to, push the envelope a little bit? And that's where we get such these different like views from fans. Some of them are screaming for Frank Reich's job already, and some are like, all right, go outside and touch grass, like we're fine.
I mean, Jason, what do
you?
you?
Yeah, no, you can't overreact. Yeah, you can't overreact to that. I mean, honestly and truthfully, it's really around playing against that injury bug, like we've talked about. I mean, we've already got some nicks going on now. Barno's nicked up already. We're talking about his back. We're talking about Marshall's back today. So you got to be careful in going into these preseason games in that fashion and thinking you're going to come out there and just let it spin, right? You have to be cautious. And I think, too, to your point, they're learning a brand new defense, let alone a brand new offense, different language, almost like a brand new language that they're learning. So especially for Bryce Young, we take Bryce Young out of the equation. Imagine Matt Corral, to your point, Shantice. I just thought he would have come with a little bit more fervor, right? Like I thought he would have come with a little bit more swag to his step. Not saying he should be completely confident and 100% bought in, but the way he looked and what I saw, he looked truly out of place. And that's my concern, fam, right? Andy Dalton is our backup, and we know that. But if anything were to happen, he's got to be prepared, or we got to be able to trade him. And right now, we can't trade him for anything.
Well, it's interesting. It's like two similar situations between like the Panthers quarterback room and like the Titans quarterback room. Each team took that quarterback, last year, not really in a position where that was the biggest concern. And then that quarterback, obviously Willis had more playing time, so he's had a little bit more experience. But then you each draft a quarterback this year who's supposed to overtake that predecessor. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see how those two groups pan out and how, like, because obviously we've seen Willis was already winning camp. The preseason game, I mean,
I thought Willis, not to get too off topic, but I did watch that Tennessee game. I thought Willis looked good.
I thought he did too.
I thought he looks way more mature in the pocket. I think he looks way more comfortable just throwing from the pocket because last year in the Kansas City game, right?
He didn't have a pass. He didn't even have a completed pass.
You still be, bro. It's like running out there with a wildcat quarterback last year. This year, I think you actually have a quarterback you can actually go play a game with, and you can actually go win some games. And his athletic ability, I trust him a lot more than I trust Levis because I don't think in college Levis ever looked as good as Willis did at any point.
No.
So, other than playing in the SEC and that kind of giving him that boost, I think that's like the only notch he has above Will Levis.
Now,
Malik Willis, I mean.
Now, were you also watching the Bears game hoping that they would maybe falter a little bit? Not Field specifically, but like hoping the Bears would just falter a little bit?
No, I really didn't. Because no matter what the whole little internet beef is between Panthers fans and Bears fans, I'm a fan of Justin Fields, and I love DJ Moore.
Yeah.
So, it was great to see DJ Moore with a quarterback that has a big arm.
The first play
out, boom, screen pass, takes it to the crib. I mean, I thought all the internet narratives were funny about saying, oh, DJ isn't great doing this, he isn't great doing that, or Justin Fields can't do this, Justin Fields can't do that. And the first thing they come out and do is just show you that if we give him weapons, guys that can make plays without him having to push the ball down the field, they'll be fine. And that was the biggest thing for him because you look at the Bears, they were fourth in passes that were going vertical at 20-plus yards. So if they can just conserve that, give him easier throws that help your quarterback out, helps his completion percentage, they'll be just fine.
That's what I was thinking too. I mean, they looked impressive out there too. Now, so let's circle back to the line, and I think it was understated, honestly, how much of an issue the injuries were for the offensive line and just the chemistry we talked about. Like, it's obviously the same line from last year with a couple different pieces put in, but like Corbett being out and not having any ability to play at all this offseason has been a real issue because that really provides that they don't know what to do with that right guard spot at all. They have no idea. And like Cade Mays is not ready for it. Nash Jensen surely is not ready for it. And Zavala might have been ready for it if he also didn't have his own injury issues in the offseason. And of course, it wasn't a long amount of time. Like he had a pretty quick recovery. It was maybe just training camp.
Yeah.
I think it was literally just training camp. But I mean, they clearly, that side of the field looked awful.
I about to say, Jason, what were your thoughts on
Yeah,
on
I think
on the
too. I
guard
think
position?
too. I think too. Icky. I think Icky shit shocked me a lot too. I mean, I know he had a slow start last year. I would have thought he would have come in a lot stronger than he did. He looked like he was taking out a fish out of water as well, to a certain extent.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't want to speak like anything, like tell any tales out of school, but Icky has just been frustrated this training camp. I mean, he's been getting in scruff and scuffles with Brian Burns, with different guys. Like, he's had multiple false start penalties in team rotational drills, inside run drills. And so I don't know if it's just something, that sophomore mindset, if something's up, or, having, Irving out of the building for as long as he was, like, if that's been an issue or so. I don't know what it is. And that's been, like, I will agree with you. He has been a little worse for wear sometimes.
Yeah, it's worrisome for sure. Like I said, we don't want to overreact, of course, but there is a sense of we can't just ignore what's going on. Like, we've seen that, like you say, he struggled through camp some. Way more struggles than, the struggles he had last year were expected. Year 2, we expected some growth. We expected him to really be the leader of that offensive line group. Still hasn't quite gotten there yet. I mean, he's the most talented guy we have, but he isn't the most consistent guy we have right now to this point. So hopefully it's just a matter of just having to work out the kinks through training camp, through preseason, and come regular season, it just kind of comes together. But that's generally not how it goes. Usually, if you have a guy that's struggling, it's increment by increment. Maybe he'll start to incrementally get better by the time we get to week 1. But even by then, he still may not be where we need him to be in order for this offense to truly flourish. And we need this offensive line to hit the ground running because, again, you got a rookie quarterback. He's gonna have struggles, but the offensive line that we spent high draft picks on, big money on with Taylor Moton, that can't be the group that struggles right now.
Yeah, and I mean, and Moton, I mean, he's going through his own stuff. He's always been going through having to put in every different position in the book. We've thrown everything at him as a team, and he's finally got that solidified spot. But it's tough then when you have such a young kid with Christensen. I think his age is still a huge factor. He looks unconfident at times when he's out there, and I think that, again, he was another person thrown into that role right off the bat. Like, at first he wasn't, and now he is, and then he was moved back when we got Icky. Like, he's moved around a lot too. I think just the up in the air aspect of this offensive line, like, while they all are still the same players, the chemistry has been kind of taken back a little bit because of the fact that they've all been playing different spots around the field. I mean, even like you look at Cam Irving, he's even playing different spots at the backup position. And so that's where, I mean, obviously Bozeman, he's the anchor. He hasn't missed a step. No. I've seen nothing from Bozeman to concern me. But, with Icky, like you said, I don't know if it's just when he's in the limelight. Last year, like you said, he had the slow start because everyone was focusing on him. Then as the year went on and we weren't really focusing on him as much because the games are a little bit different, that's when he started to flourish. And, like, even yesterday, like, he was fine up until there was that one stunt block that he was supposed to go for, and he just whiffed. I mean, it was brutal. And I was like, and that was the one point where he was putting that, right on a pedestal there. And then he just kind of got off kilter from the rest of the game. So I don't know if it's just like a, wanting to do well when he's not being watched, but you can't do that on the offensive line.
One of the things I was thinking about as I was watching some of this stuff and reading about it, I wonder if, like I'm saying, it's a new language. If the playbook and the schematics that are coming along with the plays, is it a lot more difficult? I'm pretty sure that it is, right, for him, right? Coming from NC State, learning the Fool era, having to go through Wilkes, and now we're here with pretty much a whole science engineering coaching staff, right? Like, these guys have a PhD in offense. So the expectation, the drive, the plays, the schemes, all of that has got to be frustrating, to say the least. But let alone that, now you do have a rookie quarterback.
But correct me if I'm...
He's a poised quarterback.
Keep going, Jake.
No. He's a poised quarterback. No, I was going to say he's a poised quarterback, and it's your job primarily to protect his backside. Yeah. That is your job. That is holistically your responsibility at the end of the day.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Campen his offensive line coach last year?
Yes.
So he was the only position coach, one of two. I think Cooley was the other one that was already there, that was carried over from the last regime. So that's where I was the least concerned about a difference in the vernacular, a difference in the philosophy. Right. Obviously, you have to adapt to a different offensive style, but I would have thought that would have been the best thing for him to have that same leadership going from his rookie year to this year.
Right, and that's same here. And I know people were trying to say, well, we were being generic on offense on purpose. I'm like, being generic with your play calling and being able to block a basic stunt are two different things. I was like, bro, no matter what play we call, if they run a stunt, you should know how to pick that up.
Yeah, like that's Pop Warner.
You feel me? That's just we're not going to excuse that. I don't understand why everything hasn't transferred over, or why the momentum from last year. I mean, here's the thing. The one thing we do understand is that each year is a new year. No matter how well you did the year before, this isn't like college football where maybe if you go 8-4 one year, you get all your seniors back, you push forward again, maybe win 10. NFL's totally different. Everybody's adding guys, everybody's getting better. It's really up to each individual to make themselves a better version of themselves than they were the year before. And again, it may just be. I can't quite call it, bro. Honestly, I really can't call what will be his struggles to this point now.
Maybe it's just something as simple as the fact that on Thursday they canceled practice because of the rain, but the Jets went out in Wofford in the rain and they had their practice. Oh. The Jets continued to practice.
Yep.
While the Panthers stayed inside.
I was not aware of that.
So, I mean, maybe it's something as simple as that, where they had that extra day of practice in the rain and something clicked, you know.
And also, they did play the Hall of Fame game.
And the Jets were.
They already had a.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and they had a game. I was gonna say that, and they already had a game.
I mean, that's something that people aren't talking about at all.
I don't want to give him too much cushion, though. I don't want to give him too much cushion. I mean, it wasn't like Aaron Rodgers was out there. You know what I mean? But Zach Wilson did do work. He did put up numbers on us. I'm not gonna take that away from him. I mean, they came out. Yeah, it was hard to watch. I mean, they came out and were proficient. I mean, when you look at that side of the ball, they came out and did what they were supposed to do. But again, to your point, they've been in the spotlight. They played at the Hall of Fame game. They're in their routine, right, of going to practice the week, playing a game on the weekend. So they're already getting into that mindset a little bit earlier than us. And to your point, Jack, I forgot all about that. That's right. They took the day off.
And maybe that did. You know, I didn't question it at all, and I really don't think it would have had that big of an impact. But you know, when you are a new team, I think that's the biggest thing is that people are expecting, and like as a fan, you have to be level-headed about it because I know everyone was expecting this. Just like you know, they've hyped up the team, they did the blueprint, they did the draft party, like they've done all this. They've done a lot of hyping up. They've done it to themselves. The social media department has just drove it into the ground. This is a new era, a new regime. Like it's going to be different, and I think it will be. But you cannot underestimate how long it takes for a brand new coaching staff. I mean, that's what we talked about with rookie quarterbacks all the time. Having a new head coach, having a new system to come into, and from a whole perspective, our entire offense, other than the offensive line, is completely different. There are new players at every single position that are starting, not just backups. There are starters at every offensive position except for the offensive line.
Right. And again, a lot of what the expectations come from is how Steve Wilks finished out the year last year. And a lot of people are going to be hard on this current group because if Steve Wilks was able to take a team that was like 1-5 when he got it, finish 7-10, nobody's really trying to hear any excuses of, we got to give these guys time. We got to give these guys a year. Like people want to see immediate success. I mean, even in our preseason predictions, I think we all picked this team to go around 9-8, 10-7. So you're expecting improvement, but again, improvement isn't always linear. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll have a week like this. This is the first preseason game. This is back to the point at the top of the show. It's preseason and it's August. This may not look great right now, but the first game isn't until September. Yeah. And the season doesn't end until January. Yeah. There's a lot of time to get better in between that. And this is, the first sign of like, okay, let's get it together. And even the coaching staff saw it. I mean, even the impromptu meeting James Campen had after the game, the coaching staff understands that. And that's the difference between, I think, this staff and the last staff. Yeah. They saw there was an immediate sense of urgency of, all right, that's not good enough for us. That isn't the standard. We got to improve.
I mean, if you watch the interview, I mean, I was reading the interview from Cam Irvin and just how hard he was, not only himself, but just the whole line in general. He basically gave him the 4 letters and was like, yo, we can't be this bad. We can't come out here and put this type of performance together week after week. We've got to come in stronger. We've got to be much more of a unit. And I think that we're going to see that. I don't see that being an issue with this coaching staff. I don't see that being an issue with the people on this team. I think holistically, as an organization, we have a great foundation We just got to get it together in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I think the Giants game is going to be a telltale sign. If we go up to New York and we lay an egg like this, then there's going to be the calling for Wilkes to come back to Charlotte. You better believe it already. And it's only the second preseason. But at the same time, you would want to see that definitive change and that definitive transition in what you put in place. If that's everything that you've talked about, what we're trying to build here in Carolina, then we need to see that same attitude coming into this week's preseason.
You're right. You can be as mad as you want, but hear me out. This was the best thing that could have happened for this organization. I mean, this is a punch. This is your textbook punch in the mouth to go. They had all this momentum. They had all this confidence. Reich was like, "Yeah, we're well where we want to be. We have room to improve, but we're where we want to be." No, you're not. Like, you're clearly not where you want to be because sure you didn't have a few offensive starters out there. Sure you didn't have a few defensive starters out there. Okay, cool. Like, you're gonna have to have people to fill in those roles. I don't care, if Miles Sanders isn't on the field. Juba's got to step up and do something. And I think that this was just the best thing for them to go, you know what, it doesn't matter what we've put together. It does not matter what wizardry, Scott Fitterer did in the offseason. It doesn't matter how many coaches, how many players he got for nothing. Like, if you can't perform on the field, it's pointless. And so this will show them, we can't just talk the talk. We have to walk the walk as well. And yeah, if you can't do that in New York against the Giants, which is just a circus of an organization right now, then yeah, there's going to be some issues. And your redeeming game will be the Lions, and that'll be a hell of a redeeming game if you come out there and look like an NFL team. You'll be praised everywhere because the Lions are far ahead from where you are right now.
Right.
But and when you look at the Saints and the Falcons and just how they performed in their preseason games, that's where you get a little itchy too.
Right, but also you got to remember like the 2008 Lions went 4-0 in the preseason and went 0-16. So I just want to see improvement from individual guys, from the position groups. If the offensive line comes out, has a better performance, I'll feel a lot better. If Matt Corral comes out with more confidence, I'll feel a lot better. If we have, I don't know, we can get a better pass rush from our backup second and third string guys, I'll feel a lot better. I don't need to see wins. It's not necessarily a wins thing. I just need to see guys that at some point in time we may have to see in the regular season show me flashes right now that they could be relied upon if their numbers called on.
And the energy was different out of the practice field today. I mean, they were going harder. They were pushing themselves more, and that had some issues. I mean, we saw TMJ was carted off the field. Now, he was sitting in the front seat. He was sitting in the passenger seat, so take that as what you will. They said weren't super concerned about it. And then Irving as well also tweaked it. Looked like his ankle. So that is another thing because that's, like you said, Irving was pissed. That's Irving's whole job. That's why you're being paid, is to make sure the first group of offensive linemen look good. Like, you're there to teach Icky, to be his mentor. That's the whole reason you got re-signed. Yeah. So, like, you can give your body, you could exert yourself, but, like, you got to be there to keep them together. And then, Miles Sanders still didn't see anything from him. And we better hope that pays off because, again, like I said, I'm still getting iffy about it. And now there's nothing you can do because within a few hours, Cook and Elliott both off the board.
Oh, what did Elliott sign?
You didn't see that?
I didn't see Elliott. I saw
Elliott
Cook.
went to the Pats.
Yeah, he went to the Patriots.
I mean, he's not going to be a workhorse out there. That's a place where he'll be Cam Newton out there.
He'll be one of 5 running backs touching the ball.
Between our own Kevin Harris and Ramondre Stevenson.
Exactly. I mean, that's a nice stable of backs.
That's a pretty good group. And then you got Cook to the
Jets.
To the Jets, which was interesting because honestly, I thought their running backs looked good against us, so that was surprising.
Are they trying to load up?
Absolutely.
When Aaron Rodgers freed that money up, them boys was going. They are like, no, we trying to go win today.
They're trying to do the Bucks. They're trying to go for a Super Bowl run right now.
Yeah, they've got to. I mean,
fair, you should.
Yeah.
So I'm not mad at that.
I mean, if Aaron Rodgers comes in his first year, and they get a ring with Dalvin Cook can stick his middle finger up in Minnesota, and Aaron Rodgers can tell Green Bay to kiss it where the sun don't shine. And that's just to be their 100% honesty. They're basically all in this year. They're all in this year because Salah knows he's on a short leash. It's time for him to show and prove as well. I mean, they've got some other things going on up there. But for us, I don't want to take it away. You made a great point about that, Jack, about how our compadres in the NFC South performed in their preseasons. And it does kind of make you itchy because they looked a little bit more uniform from what I could see. I'm more itchy to see what the Bucks are going to do. I mean, I know we kind of laugh at them, but they still have a pretty good foundation when you look at their linemen and you look at some of the people on their defense. they don't have much to be desired. But they're the type of team that could come in and spoil a division, just because they do have enough talent to win those close BS games. You know, those 10-3 games, those 10-7 games, they can pull those out, especially with a Baker Mayfield who's known for his fourth quarter theatrics. So I'm nervous in that regard. I want to see from our defense, to your point, Shantice, when you talk about improvements at positions, we got to get in the end zone first. But then outside of that, we really gotta look at that defensive side too and stop giving up big plays. Right? We talked about it last week. We talked about it when we were face to face. That secondary, where we're kind of thin back there, but we're not even showing promise in the thin areas. Right now, we have a receding hairline. And so we gotta close the gap in that. We really do.
Floating out there with like his hairline. See, I'm stressing myself out. I'm going bald in the last 5 years.
Yeah. One guy I was, if we have any bright spots, I was happy to see Dante Jackson out there making a play.
Yeah.
The pass breakup he had in the back of the end zone. Just to see him off an Achilles, I was just worried about how would he move. Like, how would he still move around the same? He looked like the same guy. Now, mind you, that wasn't very long while he was out there on the field.
Yeah.
But that was a good play to see, and it was a good sign. I'm happy to see him back out on the field. I mean, because honestly, we're gonna need him. I know.
We're screwed now.
Some of us on this show, we don't have the greatest feeling about Dante Jackson.
Shantice already told you we friends this year. Me and DJ friends this year.
Look,
Chris.
I haven't forgotten.
Yeah, we friends. We friends. He just don't get action yet.
Yeah,
he don't get action back there.
He's just Jackson right now.
He just don't get action.
Is he Tito?
Oh, he's Jermaine at least.
Whichever.
He's Jermaine. He's not Tito.
Whichever.
But nonetheless, it was good to see him out there making plays, man. I'm glad to see a guy that just suffered what could have been a career-altering injury get back out there and make a play.
Yeah, I mean, there were some bright spots. Very far and few between. I mean, we talked about. I think that's what also made it so just disheartening is the fact that you came from the organization that would not and could not score points. And I would have been fine if we lost. I would have been fine if it was 28-7. 28-0 is that was hard to swallow.
It's even worse though.
Yeah, man. Yeah, here's the other part. We let a rookie almost get a buck on us. The rookie got busy. He got 30 yards catching, 56 yards running. He got it in. On our defense. And that's concerning.
The embarrassing part is that Sam Franklin, when he caught that pick, my God, you got one man to beat.
I've never seen such an unathletic return on an interception.
That was crazy.
I mean,
That was crazy. But here's the thing. My whole thing was like this. I'm like, you know what? I understand why you played at Temple. I get it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's certain limitations to your game. Open field running ain't one of them.
I thought there was a hole on the field. I really did. I've never seen such an ungraceful jab step to try to juke it out.
I guess my only issue was that I'm like, bro, are you not fast enough for just simply
to run to turn? That's what I'm saying.
Quarterback. He ran towards the quarterback. I'm like, bro, why? Who do you think you are, my
guy? I have no idea, and I was so just surprised that he got the interception to begin with that I didn't even process what was happening, and that it was an actual play that he could return and score on, and then he got tackled. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And even to the point where Nish, was like, it's the special teamer. He made the point to mention him like that, and it was just
we gotta address this egg roll though, man. We gotta address the fact that we didn't get in the end zone. I mean, that's a huge black eye to Thomas Jones, a huge black eye to Frank Wright. That's a huge black eye to that whole offensive side of the ball. I don't care who was in there. We should have. We couldn't even get 3 points. Yeah, we couldn't even get a field goal.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like, I just don't know if it was just an issue of who's calling the plays, what your 10 sheet looks like, and how you're going about handling those certain scenarios. I mean, for me, I know you want to look at your special teams, and but you're punting in preseason. What are we doing?
That's not. That's something we don't want to do that very often.
No.
I know we got to work at some point. Work that in practice.
We supposedly have one of the better special teams coaches around. Yeah. So it's why are we pressing the bill that much?
Right. Like you said, Jason, Thomas Brown, Frank Wright, they have to look at themselves in the mirror, and that's why I think they took this as serious as they took it after the game was over with. That's why,
Oh,
we,
yeah.
we didn't. I don't think we're overreacting by saying there's things to worry about because the coaching staff said the same thing.
Yeah.
Because they don't. I mean, bro, they got to be embarrassed. They got to be embarrassed at the fact that
Yes,
you
sir.
score a point
Yes, sir.
in an NFL game. That is not. That's
Well, especially
not,
from an offensive-minded head coach. It's one
Right.
thing to go up there and then, and to pitch a shutout if you are a defensive-minded coach. It's one thing. But, you've supposedly put together this offensive mindset of coaches from McCown to Brown to Staley to Reich, and it's like, and you're going to do and nothing? And, and don't get me wrong, they tried some parts. I mean, that Corral pass was ugly. That last Hail Mary throw.
It wasn't great.
That was... I mean, it barely went 50 yards.
Yeah, I mean,
But that's the thing. Like, we've got to put our offense in positions to be successful. And so our whole point of this show, right, has been talking about the vanilla strategy we went with. But let's look at it at a bigger picture. If you're not getting the productivity out of the second team, out of your third string quarterback, who could be your second string quarterback, out of your young rookies who you're touting, or even the people that we've signed just from the practice squad or whomever you've brought in, you're not getting the productivity. That's a bigger issue. It might not even just be in the play calling, honestly, Jack. I mean, honestly and truthfully, who's to say that Saleh didn't out chess Wright and Thomas? Like, that could also be the thing, right? He's the defensive minded coach on the other side of the ball. He's put that defense together. I'm more frustrated at the fact because, again, we talk about the line and the offense, and for some reason, we always stall on the offensive side of the ball first. We always start the season, ever since Cam has been gone, we start the season with our offense looking like a JV squad. We always do. And it's the most frustrating thing because then that confidence and that rapport carries over, I think, early on in the season. But, again, we'll see what we do with the New York Giants. If we look better at the New York Giants, we'll have a different conversation next week. But right now, the way we look, it's the consistent cardiac cats mentality.
Well, and to wrap on your point there, too, I mean, I think, and to go back to what Shantice was saying, I think that is where a lot of the expectations got blown apart from Steve Wilks, is because from the get-go, yeah, we lost a few games, but we were scoring consistently when Wilks hit when he took over the helm. Like, that was the whole thing, is that it did not take, like, even against the Rams that next week, it was a neck-and-neck game in his very first week at the helm.
Right.
And then even without McCaffrey the week after, that was that week, and then you still didn't have a discrepancy that much in point scoring. The only one I think that we didn't score any points was the Ravens game.
Ravens, I don't think, because we even scored in that Bengals game towards the end there.
Yeah, oh God, that Bengals game, I forgot. I tried to block that out of my memory. But no, I agree with what you're saying. I think that's where it's kind of an issue. So then you talk about the Giants game. What can we see from the Giants game? You talked about it in a little bit in generalities, but what specifically could you see from the Giants game that would be like, all right, we can pump the brakes, this is what we're supposed to be doing?
I think for me, allowing Bryce to have more time in the pocket. And I do want to see more from our receiving group. I know we kind of feel safe about, Adam Thielen, Chark, and those boys, but I will say I'm not going to act like I'm not concerned the fact that we don't have a true number one. I know they've talked about how this offense is made. You don't need it, but you do. You do to an extent, and so I do want to see more from that starting group of receivers, Mingo being included. I mean, he's a rookie, but yeah, we do need to see him catch a few passes in these preseason games. That has to be important to me. Like, getting that rookie connection going, getting the young guys flowing, and that starting group in general looking more like a unit is definitely what I'm looking for in this Giants game.
Yeah, I think for me, you talk about that wide receiver group. I mean, it cannot be overstated enough the fact that we have a completely new starting offensive lineup for our skill positions and our hot five. Like, I can't think of how many times that has happened that I can remember being that impactful. We have brand new from the draft and signing, 3 wide receivers, new tight end, new running back, new quarterback. That's ridiculous. And you're right. I mean, they talk about not needing a true number one. The only time you don't need a true number one is when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback. The only times that has gotten you to the Super Bowl is, Tom Brady a couple times, in multiple different scenarios. Patrick Mahomes, hell, even like Russell Wilson with the Seahawks or Peyton Manning with the Broncos. Like that, you need a number one unless you have a Hall of Fame quarterback. We do not have a Hall of Fame quarterback. We've got what hopes to be the future franchise quarterback, but you got to have some sort of established number one. So, yeah, I need to see all of them. Like, I need to see every single one of them. We saw Thielen get a pass. We saw Chark get a pass. TMJ, we hope nothing's too messed up with him. I figured we weren't going to see a whole lot from Mingo. I wasn't expecting to see a whole lot. I don't need to see anything from Wims and Wright. I don't know why I don't understand. I know why Wright's on, and I know why Wright is there to be Thielen's backup. But I don't know, and to play ping pong with them when they're done after practice, as you saw in Camp Confidential. But I don't know why. Like, you have Wims and Jennings, and we still have Josh Van. Like,
a lot of these guys aren't making the roster.
So I mean,
they have to.
Yeah, I mean this is vetting season, so that's most likely why they got most of the spin in the first game, because we got to start making these decisions behind closed doors soon. I agree with both of you. The offense has to look better. More so than that, we're gonna have to put some stops on the board on Saquon. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to. Our front seven is gonna have to put in work on Sunday for me to be more comfortable. And if they decide to test our secondary needs to show up. Like, stop acting like you are these superstars and getting burned. We're gonna need both sides, all facets of the defense to show up against the Giants in order for me to be like, okay, I'm feeling a lot better about where we're headed. And also, last but not least, we got to put points on the board.
Yeah, I think that's what we
cannot come out of here with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple as
we
that.
Cannot come out here with an egg roll. We cannot come out with an egg roll. We cannot come out with an egg roll.
Yeah, it's simple as that. Like, that's what I want to see. I need to see points on the board. I can't leave a game. And maybe they didn't want to press the field goals that much because, Zane is injured.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, Pinheiro is injured.
Pinheiro, yeah.
I'm still so back and forth with both of them. That Pinheiro's not in, so they didn't really need to press the envelope that much. But, yeah, I need to see points on the board. And I'm going to learn more about this last game from how they play in this second game than I am about how they played in this first game. I'm going to see a lot more about what this team is based off of how they respond, how they play into this second game than I ever did from this first game. Because this first game, like, I had zero expectations going into it. This second game, I still don't want to say I have lofty expectations, but you got to do better.
Improvement is always
like that. And you can't go. You can't. I mean, you can go down from here, but like you really can't go down from here. There's really only somewhere to go but up. You obviously can go down. I'm praying to God you don't, but I would be interested to see how they go about it. Because I mean, as far as our defensive backs, there's no one on the Giants that scares me.
No.
There's not other than Darren Waller, and that's more scary for our linebackers than anything.
Right, and chances are we may not even see him. But chances are we don't see Saquon.
But that's the bigger point. That's the bigger point, though. Because if they come out there and they give us that work and they go up to us 14 zap, and our secondary standing is sitting out there, that's a problem.
Yeah,
especially with guys like Keith Taylor and C.J. Henderson, they're going to get the majority of the snaps that have started in NFL games. We do need to see those guys play at a level. I thought I did. I like what I saw from C.J. Henderson and Keith Taylor.
I did too. Yeah. Other than STO, I was fine with them.
Yeah.
Like
let me be all right. What number does he wear again?
37.
Is that
either 37 or 27? He's got long dreads. Looks like Trey Boston out there.
I think he may be 27.
He might be 27. I just saw him get burned multiple times on the outside.
That's to be expected.
And then I got bones to pick. I can't remember if it was Grugier Hill or if it was Wooten, but that one of those first plays, and he was walking. He was walking to the ball. Like, there no whistle. It was a run to the left outside within the first 5 minutes of the game, and he did not move a muscle. And I had to put the remote away. I had to stop watching for a little bit.
Made them boys run to that DBO sign.
That's what. Yeah, I guess they got their fill of it last year. They need to do more running in the middle of practice. That's what's missing from the Matt Rule era, the running in the middle of practice back and forth.
Absolutely.
We need to do the gassers. They don't do gassers anymore, so now they don't know how to run to a football. But I'll be interested to see, the first road game. Bryce under big lights. I don't expect a huge crowd out there for the Friday game. It'll be better that it's not at 4 o'clock on a Saturday. I don't know whose bright idea that was to put a game in Charlotte at 4 o'clock on a Saturday.
And black it out. And black it out. And black it out everywhere.
I told you that I knew that was happening. That I was expecting that to happen.
You should have told me.
I've been telling y'all they're making it so hard to watch NFL games.
You could have said something.
All right.
The Giants game, it is a big city, big lights. But two, I think the one thing I want to see from Bryce, and not necessarily Bryce, just the team in general, show up with an attitude and show out with an attitude. And everything else will work itself out, I believe. Just don't sit there and look bewildered the entire 4 quarters and give up 28 points.
I do need to see some personality out there. There was a very big lack of personality out there from what obviously we've known in years past. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Identity.
We need some sort of culture, some sort of
Identity.
swagger, just to just give us a little confidence going into it. But other than that, we got to just keep waiting to see how it's going to go through, what's going to go down when they get to these games, and then how they fare better when they come back from the lines. I hope it's a good trip out, so then come back to the lines confident, secure, and then ready to go to get into the preseason. But guys, again, we're out here at Locker Room Charlotte. Make sure to come by. They're getting their website up and running. Should have that up soon, so be on the lookout for that. Of course, you can come visit them here at that location. We're wearing, of course, all the gear that you see here is from Locker Room Charlotte. And then before we go, we do want to pay our respects to Alex Collins and the Ravens family, as it was just dropped. He died earlier today at the age of 28. So it was a former Raven and Saints running back. So that was they haven't released a whole lot of information on that, but that is pretty sad to say. So for the Ravens flock, we're thinking of you, and thoughts to his family as well. But of course, until next time, keep pounding.